All right, we have a monumental day here at the Endless Hustle because joining us today is one of the most charismatic people in sports media. He's one of my personal favorites. He's a member of the Fab Five, 13 years in the NBA. He's a podcaster. He's a charter school co-founder, and now he has a weekly column for the New York Post, a true jack of all trades. Welcome, Jalen Rose.
Hustling.
Hustling.
Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling.
Let's kick this off by talking about why a guy who made $100 million in his NBA career is still picking up 15 different jobs. Your latest one is Renaissance Man with Big Sean, correctly?
September 3rd, 2002. And I talk about it on this week's column of the New York Post, as well as the podcast. Make sure you download it right now or subscribe on Apple. I tell a story that I rarely tell, and it answers your question. Why do I hustle? Why am I so fearless about my goals and trying to get accomplished the things that I hope to make happen in my life? Is because I had a tragic circumstance happen that night, an assassination attempt. I was driving a Bentley up Sunset Boulevard and got to the corner of Barrington, and somebody jumped out of a Cadillac Escalade and sprayed bullets at the car and hit it 9 times.
What? Is that true?
While I was a member of the Chicago Bulls, averaging 20 points in the NBA. I tell that story. And so since that day, as much as I love sports and entertainment, and clearly I love my culture and I'm passionate about my community and giving back, each day for me, I understand can be the last. So while I don't treat it like it's borrowed time, because my faith is as strong as anybody that's ever walked the face of this earth, I just appreciate it as such. And you know, if anybody ever listened to a lot of Drake, he say, drink champagne to his accomplishments. But the problem is he found himself drinking every day.
Yeah. Was this when they sprayed bullets, was there a motive or was it just a random act?
No motive. It was a random act. I did a little intel after the fact and found out that was just something that was happening to people that was leaving that spot, that they felt like they had a chance to catch, quote unquote, slipping. And it wasn't personal at all, but it was definitely something that could have cost me my life. A friend of mine who was in the car with me, his nickname is Riz. We down like 4 flat tires, like my childhood friend. Still walking this earth right now with a bullet that went in his cheek that's right now stuck in his neck. Since that day, that's the person that you see. Before, if those that didn't follow me in college and you didn't know bald head Jalen with bad skin and bad teeth, like that dude was an animal. Like he was bad for my health. I look back at him and was like, yo, calm down. Like, that was an angry young man right there. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And so after that incident, it gave me a new perspective on life. So I started to do all of the things that I felt like I should do in my life. And one of those things at that time was actually to start back taking correspondence courses. I realized that I went to Michigan for 3 years and I was a Dean's List student. I was an honor roll student in high school. And so I realized that I didn't go to school for 3 years in the cold not to finish. And at that time, I couldn't get the correspondence courses I needed online. So I ended up going to the University of Maryland, University College. And that's where I graduated from. A lot of players leave early, but not many get a chance to go back and finish. And I was fortunate enough, incidents like that gave me the inspiration to go ahead and do that.
Speaking of Michigan, Jalen, the Fab Five is my all-time favorite college basketball team. When we see Zion now and all these high school players, people don't realize nobody has anything on what the Fab Five was. You guys invented branding for the younger players. You're the OGs of that. Did you guys realize at that moment what you were creating in terms of branding and in terms of marketing presence?
We knew we were changing the game and doing something that hadn't been done, but we didn't know how monumental it was and how many dollars it actually was generating. So you look at the modern day athlete, when Tom Brady gets traded to the Bucks, he's trademarking Tampa Bay. He's trademarking anything that he might be able to get paid off of. See, in the early 90s, we didn't have that wherewithal. All we wanted was the opportunity to be ourselves. That was currency. In high school, you didn't get a chance to have multiple pairs of fresh kicks. At least I didn't. I came from a Detroit public school and we had Nike as a sponsor, but they gave us 2 pairs of shoes a year. I mean, I'm kind of good at basketball and I'm playing 7 days a week, multiple days a week. Like those 2 pairs is kind of gone in like the first 2 weeks. Yeah. All love and all respect, all gratitude, but I was getting 2 pairs of shoes. That's just what it was. And so once you get to college, it's like, wait a minute. I wore tight shorts in high school. I didn't have a lot of kicks in high school. When I get to college, I'm not getting paid to wear these Nikes, but I am under contract. So therefore, we don't want the shoes in that box, in those bags. Where the Deion Sanders at? Where the Bo Jacksons at? Where the Charles Barkleys? Like, what's next? Like, we ain't wearing those jock-looking shoes that other schools around the country wearing. Where the Jordans?
Didn't you rail against the Fab Five nickname initially? Didn't you not like it?
We did. We stupidly, and I say that now because the Fab Five is dope. That name is dope. And especially I'm a DJ. That's one of my hobbies. And just knowing about the Beatles and all of that. At first, I was I ran away from it. I was like, no, that's the Fab is them and Fab Five Freddy is him. And I love both of them. So I was like, no, we can't do that. No, we can't do that.
Just posers.
Right? And so now that we look back at it, it's kind of like when Run DMC look at their nickname and I hear DMC describe it, he said he thought it was the worst name ever, but now it sounds dope. And it is dope.
You know what's crazy, Jalen, is The Last Dance when it came out, my generation and your generation, we knew how good MJ is. He's the GOAT. People didn't realize in the younger generation that MJ was the GOAT, and all of a sudden they were introduced to this guy for the first time. When the Fab Five 30 for 30 came out, you guys broke all the viewership records. People met you guys for the first time as part of that younger generation. Did it blow your mind to see how much people responded to that series and meeting you guys for the first time?
It did. And I get a chance to see it through the lens of Jimmy King and Ray Jackson, my 2 brothers who didn't get a chance to play 10 plus years in the NBA. To have people get reintroduced to our story, that's why it was more important for me to tell each individual story, where he came from, what made him tick, so that you get an authenticity about what made us come together and why we were so special and why we moved as one. Even in music now or in the culture. Back then, groups were really prevalent. My favorite artists were groups. EPMD, Wu-Tang Clan, I could go on and on and on. The Black Sheep, NWA, Outkast, go on and on and on. That's kind of what the Fab Five wanted to be. And so 5 times what we wanted to call ourselves, it was 5 times 1. We move as one. Nobody bigger than the group and da-da-da. But then the media was but that's an ugly name. We're not going to name y'all that. And so as the relationship of the Fab Five, we started to understand that it was a sacrifice that we were all making. We weren't going to go to a school to be the leading scorer and try to go to the league. And it wasn't a time when you went for 1 year and went to the NBA. So when you make that decision, you thinking that, man, we're going to go undefeated every year. We're going to win it every year. And we're going to go to the league after, our sophomore year. We're going to break all of the records. And then as you realize that the things that you're able to accomplish are bigger than life, we were like, wait a minute. We want some longer shorts. We're not wearing those. No. Not wearing those tight shorts. Chris Webber, 6'9", doing 360s in the game. He'll bust those shorts open. We're not wearing them. No, we don't want those jock shoes. No, we want some stylish stuff. We're not getting paid, but we're going to look like it.
You mentioned Jimmy King and Ray Jackson. I mean, obviously those guys didn't have the success that, you Juwan or C-Web had. So I know in the past that you've kind of been advocating for, a $2,500 stipend for every semester for college athletics. You even urged, college players to boycott March Madness a couple years ago. We're starting to see these top recruits. Jalen Green isn't going to college and going to the G League to chase the money. What's your current position on the NCAA kind of cashing in on the talents of these kids? And what's your rebuttal to people who think that like a free college education and some Nike swag is payment enough?
Well, it's the total oxymoron and represents indentured servitude in a lot of ways, because think about what you just said. Somebody once played in the NCAA named Jalen, except he doesn't get recognized because one of his teammates allegedly broke some rules and had a separation with the school for 10 years. The separation is forgiven, yet when I go back to Ann Arbor, Michigan, our banners aren't hanging. My number ain't retired. I played well enough for that to happen. We all did. We all know it did. That's the hypocrisy of the entire game, because they ain't returning none of that money. And so I feel while you're playing the game that you love and you're still required to be a student, not the other way around. Like when John Calipari gets the job in Kentucky and he looks at that roster, you're going to have to make some tough decisions about the people that are already under scholarship that may or may not fit what he does. It is not personal. It just comes with the territory. It's just the business of collegiate sports. And so it operates like professional. Like look right now during COVID, they're playing games, no people in the stands. So let me get this right. The other students, to protect their safety, you're not going to have them come to the game. But we can play the game to pay for all of the sports in the athletic department while still paying the coach top dollar, getting a shoe deal. He gets a television deal, a radio deal, get paid for all of the appearances that he wants to get.
Ass backwards.
Right. And how many of us go into the NFL? How many of us go into the NBA? If the goal is for everybody to get educated, incentivize us then. Say, hey, the people that stay for it, if you graduate in 4 years, we're going to give you this. You graduate in 5 years, we're going to give you this. Now that changes the barometer of people actually wanting to do it versus, hey, I need to get a job. Like, I didn't make it to the league. I played overseas. I played in the G League. I played in the D League. It ain't work. I need to get a job. Like, these are people that help colleges make multi-millions of dollars. And so that's the disconnect. It's not truly for the student athlete. That's just a term to continue to allow them to not pay you directly for your services.
Jalen, you had a guy who bypassed that whole college racket. He just signed with Puma. He could be the top pick in the NBA draft, LaMelo Ball. He broke the mold by playing in Lithuania. What does your gut tell you about LaMelo's potential in the league?
Well, 360 degrees of separation. He was just on Jalen and Jacoby talking about the GOAT conversation of MJ and LeBron, plus doing this Puma announcement. And players, if you noticed, he was doing that while in high school, are now going to be doing that either post-high school if they can't go to the league, but in another 1 or 2 years, they will be able to go straight to the league, so they won't have to go that route. So as you just mentioned about Jalen Green, he needed to go to the G League, create a G League team in California, where he's from, get a coach, Brian Shaw. Like, it's so many things that had to happen in order for that to take place. When really, if it was up to him, he'd actually go from getting $400,000 in the G League to go getting $30 million in the NBA because he's going to be a top 3 pick. And so LaMelo and his family, I have always applauded their approach. I really did. As being a member of the Fab Five and saw how much money Nike made off of, if I got $1 every time somebody bought some black socks, like the mall didn't even sell black socks. Like, I know.
Put them on right now.
Right. For some people, I know you look at an iPhone and not realize that beepers existed, but they did. Like, there was a time when you could go to the mall and they only had like 1 or 2 pairs of black socks. The first year I was wearing dress socks. They weren't even sweat socks. They were dress socks on top of my white socks. So the players should be able to share in that. Absolutely.
Jalen, we're coming off this incredible Lakers win. In full disclosure, I am a lifelong Lakers fan, but was never a LeBron fan. I was Kobe, MJ, and Magic. Those were my guys. And I played with Kobe in high school in a bunch of summer leagues. When LeBron came to the Lakers, I was like, it's LeBron, not a fan. But after what he just did, he converted me because he honored Kobe and he honored all of us. What it made me think about was LeBron's brand. He's always been one of the most polarizing athletes on the planet, especially from the decision on. What do you think this does for his business brand and his marketing brand?
A few things as I rock my More Than a Vote shirt and represent to the fullest, because LeBron James stands on the shoulders of the greats that I'm pictured, that I'm sitting in front of. Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, athletes that were socially and politically conscious and were willing to use their voice and their platform in order to try to get their humanity. And so the championship that he just got accomplished was a duality for me. I think he's the GOAT. He's in the GOAT conversation in two different things that matter to me the most. Muhammad Ali, to me, is my all-time favorite. He just is. He's the GOAT, period. So LeBron's in the conversation with those guys of social and political justice, the gentleman I just mentioned. And then he in the GOAT conversation of Michael Jordan, of players of all time. So he's the modern day version of these guys. But when we talking about who's the best basketball player of all time, he got more work to do to pass Michael Jordan. And I'm going to give you 5 categories to always look at that you can do cross-era comparisons to get you really close to figuring out who the GOAT is, especially in the statistical era. It's MVP. That means you've been the best player in the game. So Anthony Davis is all NBA. Giannis is back-to-back MVP. It's just a different level of a player. It just is. There's championship. You just saw LeBron do that. There's finals MVP. There's defensive player of the year. Means you're the best defensive player of the year. And then there's scoring titles, because that means you can get buckets. And that's the hardest thing to do in basketball, to get buckets. I know when you saw me, you play with Kobe. I heard you. And I know folks like, the hardest thing to do is to sacrifice your body and take a charge. No, that's easy. That's easy. You're going to pull somebody out of the car at the corner of the light and do that. The hardest thing at the end of game 5 is to go get me a bucket when I need one. That's the hardest thing to ever do in basketball. So those are the categories, and I think I said 4 or 5. MVP, finals MVP, title, defensive player of the year, and scoring title. Michael Jordan got 10 scoring titles, and in 6 of those years, his team won the championship. Now just think about this. Imagine if James Harden led the league in scoring 6 times, and each year the Rockets won the championship. People will be calling him the greatest offensive player of all time. Oh, wait, some people are. Some people are. That's right. They haven't probably seen Michael Jordan play, though. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, okay? Michael Jordan won 6 championships. How many times did he win? How many three-peats did he have? Oh, 2. 2 separate three-peats. Who else has had multiple three-peats? No one. Right? Nobody. I played against Shaq and Kobe. They would have stayed together after their three-peat, they had a chance to do it again. LeBron would have stayed in Miami and they would have stayed healthy, they had a chance to do it. KD with the Warriors, they have a chance to do it.
But isn't it a kind of a nod to LeBron that, he's doing it with multiple franchises? Like, you can win 6 if the NBA looks pretty much exactly the same all 6 years, When people are, joining, you got KD moving around. When people are joining to take down these people after just an inkling of success, and you do it with 3 different franchises, 4 titles, there's something you keep moving the goalposts here,
No. We're not going to allow you to do that. No. I didn't move the goalposts. I set the goalposts with Michael Jordan. I set my standard.
You also said that Kareem, Russell, and Magic just a couple months ago, Jalen. You also
said in my top 5. They're in my top 5.
But you also said LeBron needed to leapfrog them. This was before he got the title.
Correct. So my top players in this order are Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and then LeBron. I said when he went his fourth, he could pass Magic. And that hurt me to say because Magic is my childhood idol. And so I'm not just doing this based on who got the most rings. Like, I'm serious about this. My father was a former player. I remember watching the 1972 All-Star game. I've seen that footage more than anybody walking the face of the earth, okay, because I never met my biological father. That was the closest I got. I watched that all of the time. And so you can give extra credit for doing it for more than one team, or you can say, imagine if he would have been able to do it in Cleveland the whole time.
And you'd have to live in Cleveland.
But that's where he grew up. See, that's moving the goalpost. You see what I mean? Like, oh, he lived in Cleveland. Well, he had fun living there when he went back to win it. Now, that was an amazing championship. That was outstanding. And again, not taking nothing away from the king. He just got more work to do, y'all. I ain't mad. I ain't hating. I'm riding with him. That's my dude. I ain't salty about my life. I'm crisp. I got a black card. I'm good. I'm just telling you, he got more work to do. That's it. 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 10 scoring titles? 10? 10? Like he just got a little more work to do. He got AD on his squad. I think he has the chance to do that. Now, if we compare him in his prime to MJ in his prime off the court, then he the GOAT.
You brought up your dad, Jalen, and I'm the product of divorced parents when I was young. And not having my dad around all the time, we weren't particularly close, it actually drove me to be more successful. I want to ask you about, even though your father was a ball player, but not having him around, what type of influence did that have on you psychologically growing up as a player and then post-playing career?
I don't want to promote a broken home in any way, shape, or form, because that emotionally and psychologically has done things to you and to me and to everybody else that we just couldn't imagine. And so what I will say, however, is one of my main motivations was to, take us out of the poor situation we were in Detroit, where I was, eating syrup sandwiches and mayonnaise sandwiches and drinking sugar water and sugar milk. I was like, okay, maybe I'm here because he left. He was in the league and I'm in the hood and we don't have heat. I'm like, all right, he gonna know my name one day. So he became my encouragement. In high school, my number was 42 because I wanted to get the opposite number that he had, 24. I was like, I'm every person that he'll never be, and I'm opposite of him. He gonna know me. And that did help me go harder on drills and catch the bus to practice and run to the gym with ankle weights on and, play all day in the sun and shovel off the court in the winter and my nose be running. I got sinuses to this day. Absolutely. That was motivation. Out there with gym shoes on when everybody else got boots, no doubt. No question. I wouldn't have been as hungry spoon-fed. I would not have been as hungry.
After you made it and you have more money than God, was there ever a moment where, I know he passed, I think in 2007, but was there ever a moment where you were like, hey, let me bury the hatchet with him and maybe we can move forward?
Oh, quick, fast, and in a hurry. I did it in the early 2000s. He wrote me a letter when I was in college, early 90s. Mitch Albom was trying to interview him for the Fab Five book. And he wrote me a letter, gave it to Mitch. And Mitch gave it to me the night before the Final Four game, actually. As I look back at that story, I'm like, I kind of wish he would have waited till after the Final Four to give me this letter. But sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. And so I actually kept the letter, and it was like kind of like Linus in his blanket. I just kept it with me everywhere I went, but didn't open it for years. And then I was a member of the Pacers, and I felt like I established myself in the league, and I knew who I was somewhat as a young adult. And I opened the letter. I remember I was at Dale Davis's house. They were over there playing poker. I don't play poker, but for some reason I spent hours of my life watching it. And I went in the bathroom and I just called them 2 or 3, locales later and connect me with that person who connect me with that person, connect me with that person. And then I eventually got them on the phone. And Austin Crozier actually helped me get the one of those numbers because he went to Providence and they had the same athletic director. I called and got him on the phone. I just told him I love him. I told him I had no hard feelings. And I kind of said what you just alluded to by asking the question. Whatever journey was meant for me clearly was ordained for you not to be a part of, my day-to-day because it didn't stop me from my goals. I have 2 brothers. Rest in peace to my oldest brother who I lost within the last 8 months, William Rose. I have 2 older brothers and an older sister, and they have a different father. And they're clearly not the athlete that I was. And so I wanted to give him credit for that and my genes and having me fall in love with the game of basketball. And that's why when he passed in 2007, I was at the funeral with his Hall of Fame teammate and my godfather, Dave Bean.
Jalen, we're in a period right now of player empowerment off the court, unlike anything we've ever seen. You've got a management and production company. You've got a successful podcast. You look at LeBron, KD, Steph Curry. Everybody's producing everything on the planet right now. For you, when did you realize in your career that the best part of it was behind me and I've got to start thinking to the next step? And then the follow-up to that is, once you realize that, how do you identify what that next step is going to look like and where you can transition into?
See, the one thing about growing up in the hood is you can take the lessons and apply them or you can fight them. And there's certain things that teach you who you are. And you have to own it. Like most people, when you look at them or you get introduced to them, you meet their representative, and that's who they see when they look in the mirror. They're representative. They're not honestly assessing themselves. Being poor makes you honestly assess yourself because somebody's telling you, nah, you broke. And you want to be mad or fight it, but it's actually true. You know what I'm saying? And you can't do nothing about it. So it's that duality. You can't do anything about it, and it's true. And so when you grow up poor, like I said, it's people start to tell you things, and if they're true, you got to learn to deal with it. And then the other part of that is, even if you don't like it, you can't whoop the person that said it, right? You can't fight the person that said, you got been at the park, you want to jump up in such and such and such and such face, but you ain't going to jump up in such and such face because he going to go pop the trunk, right? So I learned to assess myself like really early. And my goal my whole life in basketball, you couldn't tell me, for anybody that's ever watched Kobe obsess over Michael Jordan, the late, great Kobe Bryant, who I love dearly, that's how I obsess with Magic Johnson. That's how I obsess with Magic Johnson. You could not tell me I wasn't Magic Johnson. You could not. I don't care if I was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. You could not tell me. I didn't realize I wasn't Magic Johnson until I got to college, right? Now think about it. I'm a member of the Fab Five. I'm still a 6'8" point guard out here killing them. People naming their kids Jalen.
Leading scorer.
Right? But I'm like, when Magic was a freshman, when Magic was a sophomore, that was who I was comparing myself to. I was like, let me temper it down a little bit. And then I started looking around. I started playing against these dudes. I'm like, I'm not as good as Chris Webber. I'm not as good as Grant Hill. This dude is great. I haven't played against this dude since I was 13. Like this dude, like I got a chance to see all of these dudes so young. I got a chance to see the big dog Glenn Robinson, so young, Jamal Mashburn. Like these dudes, to me, like I'm a fan of the game. When I saw Penny, I was like, I ain't Magic. That's Magic. That's Magic. That's Magic. Sorry, Jalen. You ain't Magic. I started calling him Magic and stopped calling myself Magic when I saw him. And this is before I was even in the league. I was still balling in college. I was a lottery pick, all of that. And so I was like, I need to start taking these communications classes serious. You know what I'm saying? Because these dudes is really good. And I don't know if this is the barometer of the league, I don't know how long I'm going to last. And so I started taking those communications, radio, TV, film, production classes, and I started earning my chops. And so I played in the finals in 2000, and then I covered the finals in 2002 when it was Lakers and Nets for BET Mad Sports. I pitched them the idea. They liked it. They ran it. I got all access. Was interviewing Shaq, was interviewing Kobe, was interviewing Phil, pitched the idea of the best damn sports show the next year. So for 2002 to 2007, I'm averaging 20 in the league while working in the media. I was doing it both at the exact same time. Top-ranked boxing, NFL Network, Cold Pizza. Before it became First Take, I was doing sideline for TNT and studio for TNT. Nick Van Exel threw the towel on me. I'm doing baseline. Sacramento Kings, how about that? They were in the playoffs. And the Spurs. That's how long ago this was. So in 2007, that's when I started doing it full time.
No, I'm a Boston guy, so Larry Bird is near and dear to my heart. I know you flourished as a player in Indiana with him as a coach. I think 3 straight conference finals there. What does Larry mean to you, and what kind of guy is he in general?
First, for you youngsters out there, let me school y'all something. Larry Bird, one of the top 10 basketball players of all time. And I'm tired of looking down at my phone and people like, oh, look who he was playing against. He was playing against truck drivers. And he was like, just so y'all know, and this is as somebody who was born in 73, okay? And I'm analyzing the game in 2020. I know how this works. I got y'all. I know Imani Bates is coming. And I know in 15 years, they're going to be saying my nephew is better than Kevin Durant. I know it. I know how this works. Everybody wants their era to be the best player, have the best music, have the best movie. I know the technology. You look back at the movies, oh, look, the technology in that movie looks terrible. So Larry, when people look at his highlights, for some reason they like, oh, first off, he's 6'10", shoot with unlimited range, grab every rebound, 10+ rebounds, a terrific passer, 5+ dimes, and was clutch. Larry Bird was clutch. You go into the huddle when you was watching the game the other day, be honest, game 5, because I did it. I was with Jay Will, I was with Paul Pierce, with Maria Taylor. When the Lakers came out of the huddle, I looked to my teammates. I said, who taking this shot? When y'all was watching the game, what did y'all say?
Got to be LeBron every time.
Correct. So how did you feel when he didn't take the shot?
I felt cheated.
I mean, that's LeBron, though. He's not built like Kobe or MJ. He doesn't necessarily want the last shot as much as he sees the game differently, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. I love the guys who want the last shot. That's what made MJ to me so special, and Kobe. But you're right. LeBron is built differently.
I love joining you guys because both of you guys just basically gave the same answer that I have. LeBron, Magic, and Bird make the basketball play. Tim Duncan, too. They make the basketball play. So when I do the 5 categories, Tim Duncan, he ain't trying to lead the league in nothing. Because some nights they're going to be up 20, and he ain't going to even play second half. He's just trying to win the game. Larry, Magic, they're just trying to win the game. And then every now and then, oh, Kareem guarded? I think so. Oh, baby hook in the middle. I'm going to show this, right? When I'm watching the Celtics play, I'm a Pistons fan. Oh, Bird steals the ball underneath the DJ. That's ringing in my ears. I rooted against Larry his whole life, his whole career. I rooted against Jordan his whole career. You know, I'm bad boys forever. I cheered when we walked off and didn't shake the Bulls' hand. All of Detroit walked off. Trust me. It wasn't just those 15 people in uniform. It was not just them. We was on their back or vice versa, however you want to put it. And so Larry, for that era, he won 3 straight MVPs. Magic was in the league. Jordan was in the league. He won 3 straight MVPs. I think the 86 or 87 team is probably the greatest team ever assembled. Don't tell Bill Simmons I said that.
I got to know, toughest cover of your career.
I got to say Kobe, because I was out there and watched that 81 up close and personal. And I want to pay homage to the legend and uphold his legacy and celebrate the fact that I got a chance to see greatness and get teased about it and get a chance to talk about it. And when his name comes up, at some point, 5 words later, my name is going to come up. And I appreciate everything that he was able to accomplish on this earth. And so probably that.
What do you think about Tyler Hero? Because this kid, he's got whatever that it quality is on and off the court, he has it. What are your thoughts about where he goes next?
So the one thing he has that allows it to be it is the Miami Heat culture. See, a lot of what happens to a young player is where they get picked. So if I'm watching NFL on Sundays, I kind of don't know how good Dwayne Haskins can be in the NFL. Why? Because he got drafted to a bad situation, right? He got. I saw him at Ohio State, and you know I'm Michigan, but you know what? Every time I looked up at the TV, he's throwing another touchdown. I'm like, yo, the Lions need to get him right. I'm like, he looks good. Like I haven't. What has he started? Like 2 games, 1 game? Like they have. He's had more coaches than he started games. Yeah. Like I saw his old coach sitting on the curb. I saw those photos. Like they haven't given him a chance to really flourish. Mm-hmm. So Tyler Hero now comes to the NBA. He has the skill. He has the bravado. Then he has Coach Cal. Then he has Coach Spo. And so now he gets a chance to ease himself into his career. It's not like the first game, Tyler Hero, he's our guy, did a couple of shots. He got a heat check in a couple of quarters, and now he got to be the leading scorer. And after the game, everybody coming to him in the locker room first. No, it's like you're going to talk to Pat, you're going to talk to Spo, you're going to talk to Jimmy, you're going to talk to Bam, you're going to talk to Goran, you're going to talk to Alonzo. Like, we're going to protect this kid. You see what I'm saying? He working on his game. And so now that gives him confidence. Like, dang, they trust me. All right. Y'all gonna run this scissor action for me late to shoot a 3? With 25 seconds to go, Jimmy, you cool with that? Y'all cool? Me? He like, cool. Because they saw him in the gym putting in work. And so now the sacrifice, the culture and the sacrifice that he made with his game and the coaching that he's accepted now flourishes in the team dynamic where they use him to his strength. So you don't see him out there playing the top of the 2-3 zone. Why? Because defense ain't his strength. So we're going to put him in the back. Him, Goran Dragic, Duncan Robinson, we're going to put them in the back of the zone. But guess what? We're going to put them in the front of this 3-point line. You see what I mean? That's protecting him and allowing him to flourish. And then when he get hot, how about this guy, 38, 39 points? As a rookie, 20 years old in the finals? Like, I'm not even proud of the things I was doing at 20. For him, the worst thing, like on our show, I'm like, if I was 20 and I was him playing in Miami and in the finals, oh, man, everybody's DMs would be wide open. Wide open.
Jalen, I got to bring up one of my favorite Jalen Rose moments, and I know I can speak for a bunch of people on this one. It was in 2012 when Skip Bayless was kind of pumping out his chest at you about some just bad Russell Westbrook take. And you called him out for playing JV as a junior and averaging 1.4 points a game. And you could just see his entire on-camera persona just kind of evaporate, and he was just this wounded puppy. I mean, 8 years later, is that hatchet buried?
The hatchet is buried, and I bought Skip some nice designer shoes in like 2015 to hopefully help bury it, because what I learned about delivering a message, and this is for a lot of people that call themselves leaders or bosses or big brothers or father figures. You can give whatever message you want to give, but if it's not received by the human being you was trying to deliver, then it becomes a miss. And so I wouldn't have said what I said if I thought it was going to make him feel the way I saw it made him feel. What ends up happening, however, when you're doing a debate, it's almost like slap boxing. Eventually, every now and then, so you're going to hit him harder, and he'll hit you harder, and all of a sudden y'all fighting. And so what ended up happening in that moment was two professionals with a healthy respect for one another, both, tirelessly working at their crafts and getting research and trying to have the next fact on the next fact of the next fact. What he didn't know is that I'm also a hip hop fan and I love KRS-One. And something that he said always stuck with me was that he kept a freestyle for everybody in the top 10 in case somebody came at him. And so I was like, all right, maybe if I'm going on a debate show, maybe I should adopt that. And by the way, I know I'm giving people out there game to do this for me. I'm the OG now. It's fine. Y'all can have it now. You can have it. I'm 18 years in. Like when they say people get old, they just start just saying stuff. Like, I'm giving it to y'all. Like KRS-One gave it to me. And so for somebody that plays in the 60s and the 70s, they clearly don't feel like somebody has a record or acknowledgement of the stats of when they played. So I'm one of the people that was doing that digging and doing that research for weeks, actually. And I came across Black Sports Online at the time, Robert Lethal, big shout to him, and saw that they had some stuff about Skip's playing career. And I coupled that with a few other things that I Googled and piecemealed it all together because it was not all together. And then I was sitting on it. So I actually was sitting on it for weeks. Like, it wasn't something that just like, I didn't wake up that morning. If I would have known it was going to go like quote unquote viral and it was going to be something that people be talking about so many years later, I would have wore a better suit that day. Like I didn't even know it was going to happen that day. And so again, this is healthy banter. It's a debate show. It's a debate show. We're slapboxing. As we're talking about the game, and I'm trying to tell him that positions were created so a novice can follow the game. Like just because you're a power forward don't mean you bulky, or just because you're a shooting guard, that don't mean you firing up threes from wherever. Like that it's just so people can acknowledge who's out there. It's really for the fans. And then he was like, so what type of player were you? And I was like, whoa. Like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what triggered the response that I had. But he's still doing his thing at another network. Big shout to Shannon Sharp. That's my OG. That's my brother. I actually got drafted by the Nuggets while he was a member of the Broncos. So I've known him that long, worked directly and indirectly with him at ESPN, and saw him continue to ascend and do his thing. So I'm happy they got their show together. But that's just a moment in the day of the life of the hustle.
I saw this great story that when you were a rookie, Dikembe Mutombo had you fetching condoms to haze you at CVS Pharmacy. You got to walk me through this. What's going through your head?
See, the one thing about these stories is, Deke, I love you. He did a terrific job philanthropically. I donated to the hospital that he helped build in his hometown as well. Is that now these people have moved on, man. They got wives, they got kids, man. They don't want them hearing about these stories. But this happened before Google. This happened before YouTube and social media. How you know about this?
That's why it should be public free reign there.
I know.
Another life.
All right, Deke, they're asking me, Deke. They're asking me, big fella.
We'll find out.
Otherwise, I would. They're asking, big fella.
All right, Jalen, we're going to get you out of here on this. We're going to do what we like to call a hustle round. I'm going to give you a rapid fire series of two opposing things, and you have to answer which one you prefer. You cannot take longer than 3 seconds, or it's bad luck for 7 years. I don't make the rules. You ready?
All right, let's get it.
Let's get it. All right, brighter future, Luka Doncic or Jason Tatum?
Luka.
Better fast food, Wendy's or Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A.
Steam room or sauna?
Steam room.
Lake or ocean?
With vapors in that steam room. If I could see the bottom, so I guess that's lake.
Better basketball movie, Space Jam or He Got Game?
He Got Game.
Better basketball documentary, The Last Dance or Hoop Dreams?
Wow, classics.
3 seconds, Jalen.
Hoop Dreams.
Better five, Fab Five or Jackson Five?
Jackson 5. I idolize them. I got them up in the studio. Jackson 5.
Better pizza, New York or Chicago?
Ooh, I played both places. Detroit pizza, Populous, seafood. Come on, now.
You have to answer one or the other, dude, or you're going to get bad luck.
New York.
Better actor, Denzel in Training Day or Paul Pierce in The Wheelchair Game? I only say this because I die for Paul.
Truth. Happy birthday, Paul.
Happy
you know I love
birthday.
you, dog. Denzel, that's my uncle. Denzel all day, and I'm glad Denzel and his Lakers got a championship this year. He's been paying for season tickets forever. And imagine being treated the way Spike Lee was treated by the Knicks. As I see Denzel his Lakers get a championship. Imagine the New York Knickerbockers were ever to get a championship. Spike Lee should get 2 rings, and they ushered him out of the arena. Oh, my goodness.
Big spoon or little spoon, Jalen?
Little spoon.
Ranch or blue cheese?
Ranch.
Doritos or Cheetos?
Doritos. But I like to crunch them and mix them in the same bag.
Last one. Better Detroit artist, Eminem or Stevie Wonder?
Stevie Wonder.
You have survived the hustle round. And, I only joke about Pierce because he's the most underrated player in history.
Jalen, you were fantastic, man. Thank you for a wonderful interview. That was awesome.
Yeah. Don't forget to tune into Jalen's podcast, Jalen and Jacoby and the Renaissance Man with Big Sean. Read his column in the New York Post and tell him to slow down a bit, please.